Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of From the Studio. I'm your host, Corey Riggs, welcoming you inside our MC22 studio and thrilled to visit with you all once again. On this week's show, we are very lucky to have a couple of great guests. First, the MLS, or Major League Soccer, is preparing to return to play at ESPN's Wide World of Sports complex with their World Cup-style tournament called MLS is Back. The play-by-play voice of Sporting Kansas City is Nate Bukaty, and he will join us first on From the Studio. Later, we'll have a chance to visit with the head coach of the Missouri State men's basketball team, who in this time of civil unrest is stepping up to help build a bridge between the police and the youth in our area. Coach Dana Ford will join us a little bit later. If you like our show, please let us know on social media. We're open to suggestions on topics to tackle or guests to have on. Look us up on Twitter at FromTheStudio22. We'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned. Sporting Kansas City's Nate Bukaty joins us from the studio after this.
Find your next car at ReliableSuperstore.com. Reliable Superstore is here to help with Toyota, BMW, Lexus, and Audi. Need service? Take advantage of our pickup and delivery. Reliable Superstore is here for you. Renew Crew is open and providing free in-person and virtual estimates for all your deck cleaning needs. Their team takes all precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Give Renew Crew a call today.
Our first guest on From the Studio this time out has been a 20-year veteran of sports talk radio in the Kansas City area, as well as serving as the play-by-play voice of Sporting Kansas City in the MLS, Major League Soccer. We are now joined by Nate Bukaty. Nate, how's your day going, man?
It's going, Corey. We're just living through this crazy world just like everybody else. How you doing, man?
We're doing well. We're doing well. We wanted to have you on because we are getting some of that light at the end of the tunnel now. The announcement came out that MLS is set to return. Then they came out and did their live pool draw. It's just down the road now, the return of professional soccer here in the U.S. Before we get to the tournament, though, I want to start with the fact that, and it may be hard for people to remember, they may have forgotten, we did see two Sporting KC matches to start the season, a 3-1 road win, and then they drubbed the Dynamo 4-0. Take me back to the beginning of the season. What were the expectations going into 2020 for Sporting KC?
Well, they were coming off of their worst year in the last 8 years and first time out of the playoffs. But I think a lot of us believed that they were a much better team than that. They just had a lot of injuries and some other things that had gone wrong the year before, but we weren't really sure. They went out and they injected some serious capital into the team. They spent more money than they'd ever spent in an off season. And so you're kind of holding your breath, hoping that these players they brought in were going to live up to these big contracts. And those guys did in the first two games. I mean, they produced Alan Pulido being the most expensive signing in club history, and he scored a goal in each of the first two games and played really well. And so you started thinking, man, this could be a special team. This could be another one of those trophy-winning type teams for Sporting Kansas City. And then, of course, the rug got yanked out from underneath us just like everybody else. Yeah. And I think we're hoping that they can jump right back on the tracks here in early July and get things going the way they were when the season started.
Well, walk me through this. The MLS is Back tournament. The pools have been selected. This is going to be, as I understand of it, kind of a World Cup style tournament now with all of the teams heading down to Orlando.
Yeah. So first of all, what do you think of the name, Corey? MLS is Back. I mean, it's like they had like 5 minutes to come up with a name and just, first thing that really describes what it is. Let's throw it out there. But in terms of the tournament itself, I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be fun. It is World Cup format. For those that don't know, there are groups. Each team gets placed in a group of 4. There's one group that's going to have a group of 6 because they got odd numbers. But Sporting Kansas City's in Group D. they have 3 other teams in their group. They will play each one of those teams in group play. And by the way, those games will actually count toward the regular season standings once they resume the regular season at the end of this tournament. The teams that advance, the top 16 teams, will advance then to a knockout round style. That's just win and you advance, lose and you go home from there on all the way to the final. So that's kind of the easiest way to describe the way the tournament will look.
Well, the pool play or group play, if you will, MLS, Sporting KC landed in Group D. What are those matchups like, and how do you like the team's odds of getting out?
Yeah, so Group D has Real Salt Lake, the Colorado Rapids, and Minnesota United, all kind of regional teams. And some people wonder if maybe the draw was rigged. I saw a lot of conversation about that on social media. I don't buy that personally, but it is some good rivalries. Real Salt Lake may be the oldest rival for Sporting Kansas City. Minnesota United is the closest geographically to KC as well. So I think it should be some good matchups. And 3 of the 4 teams are undefeated, 2-0 in regular season play going back to the start of the year. But I think it's the type of group that Sporting Kansas City will look at and say, we think we can win this group and we're going to try to go do it.
Well, I want to go kind of a little bit behind the curtain with you now. A lot of people talking about Major League Baseball coming back, MLS coming back, the NBA coming back. Major League Baseball jumped right out and said, when we come back, no announced teams are going to the stadiums. They'll have to stay at home, do what we call in the business RIMMYs, remote productions. What is going to be the setup for Sporting Kansas City in this MLS is back tournament? Are you going to Orlando or are you staying in KC?
No, I tried to see if I could get on the trip down to Orlando, which my wife and kids were probably not going to be happy about. But what the league decided was they want to keep as low of a number as possible on site in Orlando to keep the risk factor down, less people you have to test, less people that can get infected. So they're leaving the broadcasters back home. Now, one thing I would point out is this game is going to be the TV property of ESPN. So typically I do television and radio play-by-play for Sporting Kansas City. Unless it's a national TV game, then I do radio. And so for these games, we'll be doing radio play-by-play from a studio in Kansas City. We'll also, though, do a pregame show and a postgame show on television on Fox Sports Kansas City for every one of these games. But yeah, they're leaving us back in the studio in KC, which a little disappointing on a personal front, but also from a home front life, it's actually going to be a little bit easier for me to navigate those things with the wife and kids.
I can totally understand that. Now, in your experience, which is fairly extensive in play-by-play, have you ever had to do any remote production like this before, or will this be a first? Because I've talked to other play-by-play professionals, and they say the first couple of times of doing that is awkward, to say the least.
It's been going more and more that way in broadcasting, and particularly in soccer since I started doing the sporting games 5 years ago, to the point where this year we were scheduled to do almost all of our away games from a studio in Kansas City.
Okay.
It happens a lot in soccer because of the global nature of the sport. A lot of times if you're watching a German Bundesliga game, they're not sending announcers all over to Frankfurt, Germany to call those games. They're doing it from a Fox studio in Los Angeles. And once they figured out they can do it and save on all the production costs and travel costs, it becomes a no-brainer for the companies. I will say, as a play-by-play guy, it's more difficult to call the game, for sure. You don't get to see the entire field. Sometimes you can't see the referee in the camera shot, so you're not sure what he is signaling. Is he giving a red card to somebody? Is he calling it out of bounds? Is it a throw-in? Is it a corner? So one of the things I've really had to learn to do is sometimes just stop and wait and just don't say anything until I know for sure what the ruling is on the field. And that can feel awkward sometimes because you can be sitting there for 5 or 6 seconds in silence. But especially on TV, you can always remember that the pictures are telling a story. You don't have to talk the entire time. And sometimes you just have to wait until you absolutely know what you've seen. But that is a challenge, and it's just difficult not being able to see the whole field. But hey, that's part of the job right now. And I think we're going to see more and more leagues. I talked to some guys in the NBA. They're going to have to call their games from Orlando from a studio. And they're being told they might be doing that in years to come because organizations start to see it and go, hey, wait a second. $10,000 to rent a TV truck in Sacramento. What are we spending that money for? I think the product does suffer a little bit, but bottom line comes into effect a lot when it comes to decision making. It's
not just TV truck, it's hotel rooms, it's airline tickets, it's per diems. I get it. I want to ask you about, with Major League Baseball being just an absolute mess right now, the NBA is trying to come back, but with the social unrest in this country, they're starting to get pushback from their players. Not to sound greedy or anything, but how much of an opportunity is there right now for soccer to come back and gain some ground on the other major sports in the U.S. when the only other thing really going on right now is golf and NASCAR?
You know, I was looking at a Gallup poll this morning, actually, that illustrated in a poll of what is your favorite sport to watch for consumers. And obviously the NFL is at the very top in the United States, but it tracked it back going 100 years. And obviously for most of those 100 years, soccer was almost a flat line at the very bottom. But over the last 10 years, it started trending upwards quite a bit. Baseball, by the way, has been dropping precipitously for the past 30 years. Yeah. And baseball and soccer were about to intersect the last time they did this poll. Think about that right now, wow. Right? When it comes to baseball sitting out, labor unrest, fans are tired of the bickering back and forth between millionaires and billionaires, and soccer is going to get out on the field. To be honest with you, I think Major League Soccer has benefited from the fact that their players don't make quite as much money. Compared to me and you, they make good money, sure, but they don't make the kind of money that they can just walk away from paychecks for a year and not really feel it. So I think they were a little more willing to sit down and maybe take a little bit more of what the owners were offering and not push back as much and get out on the field and play. So I think it could make a big difference. Now, the question is how many people that will actually watch this competition in July stay with the product? How many of them will decide, yeah, now I'm an MLS fan? Because one of the big challenges that Major League Soccer has is, while a lot more people are saying that they like soccer and it's one of their favorite sports going up in this direction, how many of them are fans of MLS versus the English Premier League, sure, or Liga MX? In fact, most polls say that Major League Soccer is the third most popular soccer league in the United States amongst fans here. So they've got to get the soccer fans as much as they do the fans of other sports. But this, certainly, I don't think anybody could argue this is a big opportunity right now with what's happening in this country.
Well, I know I will be watching. I know my teenage son will be watching. We usually come up for 2 or 3 matches a year at Children's Mercy Park. We love the product, and we look forward to listening to you. If people want to follow along with your coverage, how can they follow you on social media?
Okay, so you can watch me, or you can follow my stuff on Twitter and Instagram, Nate_Bukaty. That's a Bukaty. And we'll be on Sports Radio 810 WHB on the radio call for these games in Kansas City, and pre- and post-game show on Fox Sports Kansas City and Fox Sports Midwest for all the games as well, which should be a lot of fun.
Well, I can't wait. Thank you so much for your time, man. Nate Bukaty, the voice of sport in Kansas City, as well as a radio veteran in the Kansas City area, our guest here on From the Studio. We'll be back with more here in just a minute.
Hi, I'm Brett Johnston. Watch Soundcheck on MC22 for a look inside the Springfield music scene. Recorded right here at the Classic Rock Coffee Company, Soundcheck features an in-depth look at local bands with original music performances and sit-down interviews. Catch it on MC22, on demand, or online at mc22.net. From our stage to your living room, Soundcheck is your local music connection.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
As COVID-19 impacts our community, Metro Appliances and More continues to serve you. Although our showroom is closed, our business is open. Live chat on our website or call the store and speak to an appliance expert. Metro Appliances and More is committed to serving you safely. Even in uncertain times, Blue Current remains open to serve you. At Blue Current, almost all services can be completed from your mobile device in the safety of your own home. Visit our website for details or download our app. Blue Current is committed to building better communities together.
From the Studio continues now here on MC22 as we are joined by the head men's basketball coach of Missouri State University, who in partnership with the Springfield Police Department is trying to bring a new program to kids in our community. He is Dana Ford. Coach, it's been a long time since March, man. I feel like I haven't seen you in a year. How are you doing?
Doing well. It has been a very long time since March, considering COVID-19 has pretty much kept most of us inside our homes. It has felt like 3 years as opposed to, I guess, now going on 4 months.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It feels like it's been at least a year since I've seen a basketball game or been to a sporting event. So, well, let's talk about Bears, badges, and kids. And I want to start, Coach, with kind of asking you, what was the genesis of this program? What was kind of the spark that started driving you to work on this partnership with the Springfield Police Department?
Well, obviously, I don't think it's any secret when you look around our country today, there is definitely some civil situations that we are engaged amongst each other in right now, and I think one of them is this division between everyday citizens and our policemen and police women. And you know, I was at Wichita State as a graduate assistant, and we had a program there called Shocks, Cops, and Kids. And after I saw a lot of the things that were going on, I felt like here in Springfield, the platform that I've been blessed to have, I could make a difference. And I had tweeted out some displeasures about what I felt like was going on in our country, and I didn't want to be a guy that hid behind a tweet. Mm-hmm. So I thought, how could I do something? Because if it really means something to you to change, or you want things to change, you do something. You take action, and this is the best I could do, is try to get the young people and maybe some underprivileged communities in our town engaged in a very comfortable, friendly environment with men and women that protect us. Because when you think about it, if I were a coach and the very first time I coached Isaiah Mosley or met Isaiah Mosley was when I was yelling at him because he missed a rebound, that wouldn't be a good relationship. and what you have to understand is I've spent time on the phone with Isaiah and his family. I've fed him, whether it be NCAA training table or pregame meal. We've clothed him with a uniform and shoes. So we've built up a relationship. We've seen him in an environment outside of work. And when you think about the first time some kids engage with an officer is when trouble is around. Yeah. And the same can be said the other way. What we're trying to do is we're trying to make memories of pleasant times with law enforcement.
You were trying to get this program started. What was the immediate reaction like by the Springfield Police Department? Did you reach out to them first? Did they reach out to you? How did that work?
Well, we've decided to partner with a lot of different programs, and one of them is Community Partnership of the Ozarks. Okay. And Mr. Johnny McNeil made the connection with me and Chief. And Chief got back to us within hours and was on board, and it was never any hesitation. In fact, they do a program now where they play basketball with 7th graders at their middle school throughout the year, and he thought that this would be something to add on to that type of program that they already have going. Ours is K through 6 due to NCAA rules. We cannot engage in extracurricular activities with 7th grade and beyond. Oh, okay. So ours is K through 6.
All right. And what I say, I know this is still in the formative stages, but you guys are getting ready to have one of these by the end of June. I also noticed this is not an event that you're holding at JQH Arena like a lot of team camps or clinics. This is you, the team, and the police going out into the community, correct?
Absolutely. And the reason behind that was we felt like the group that we wanted to target may have some difficulties with transportation. And that started our thought process of where we would have it. And once we got the go-ahead from the city to be able to have it on site, we felt like that was a no-brainer, because now we're actually taking the program to the children, literally to their front door. And we feel like we'll get more interaction that way. And hopefully we'll be able to touch more children as opposed to them having to find a way to JQH Arena.
You also have the added benefit, of course, of having some of your student athletes involved. And I would imagine, Coach, that I'm not far off the mark here in saying not only can this be a benefit to the young kids that you're going out into the community to meet with and introduce maybe to the police for the first time, but I would imagine there are some young men on your basketball team that haven't necessarily had great experiences with law enforcement in the past and might be able to build a bridge to better relationships between them.
Absolutely. I think this program is going to help everyone involved. And that was definitely taken in consideration when building this program. Was I wanted to take the opportunity to get our players more acquainted with police officers in a more relaxed setting as well. And we've all been in college, and we've all been 18 to 24. And what has to be understood is our men and women that protect us, they have a job to do. But I wanted to get them engaged with youth when they weren't on the job. And I think that's the separation in terms of your relationship with Coach Ford during a game is a lot different than when you come over to Coach Ford's house for a bite to eat. And so that's what we were trying to do, and that's what we're going to do with Springfield Police. Is we're going to get everyone engaged with them to humanize both sides, because we're all humans at the end of the day. There's no debating of that. But what happens is some of us act differently when we have a uniform. Some of us act differently as CEOs when we have a tie on. And some of us act differently when we're just at home in our normal setting. So we want to get two different parties on neutral ground and build relationships.
Coach, everybody has different experiences with law enforcement growing up based on where you live, your socioeconomic situation. You were a young man that got to grow up in a family that you had a role model that was in law enforcement, didn't you? Was it your uncle?
Yes, I had an uncle who'd been a state trooper in the state of Illinois for 20 plus years. And, he really helped my development in understanding, the difficulties of the job and understanding that we need good police work. That's what we need. It's the same as anything that we do. We should not advocate for the protection of anyone that is doing bad work in any line of work, and especially in police work, because lives are on the line, and no one should lose their life in an unjust way, whether or not it be at the hands of their neighbor or at the hands of someone that's supposed to protect them. But I've had a different view on law enforcement for all of my life due to my uncle and his experiences. But at the same time, now being a coach, I have a different view of young people because of their experiences. And so we're just trying to get both those worlds together on a good time when people are relaxed and again, build relationships.
Coach, I can't let you go without asking you at least one basketball question. Do you have any players that are starting to make their way back to town? And when you roll this program out later in the month, how many players do you think you'll have back here to help out?
We currently have some guys in town. Gage Prim is here, Jared Ritter, Darian Scott, Isaiah Mosley, Jamonte Black. Those guys are just right in Columbia, so they're basically here every other day. And we do know that all of our players will be here July 6th. And so the first Bears, Badges, and Kids, we will have a couple players there, the likes of Gage Prim and Jared Ritter, Darian Scott. And then as we move forward, we'll have a different group of guys starting in July.
Well, I think it's going to be a great program. I think it's something that's sorely needed. If you want more information, you can go to the Missouri State website, MissouriStateBears.com. You'll find the registration form there, also an email address and phone number if you need more information. Coach, thanks for what you're doing in the community, and thanks for your time as always.
Thank you. Anytime.
All right, we'll be back and wrap up this episode of From the Studio here in just a minute.
At Orange Leaf, we're still swirling, just doing it a little different. Both Springfield Orange Leaf locations are open, offering crew serve carryouts, party box catering, curbside pickup, and delivery. At Orange Leaf, we're all about making life sweeter.
Kevin here once again for Seeger Toyota of St. Robert. Our service department still has drop-off and pickup available after hours, and pickup and delivery for you locally if you need assistance. We will make sure your vehicle is sanitized before being returned to you as well. That's from your friends at Seeger Toyota of St. Robert. We are here for you.
Hi, I'm Judy Ballou, your host for Dishing It Up. I invite you to join me every week as we watch some of the Ozarks' favorite chefs come into the demonstration kitchen at Metro Appliances and More and prepare some of their favorite dishes.
This is fun for TV.
You
do sweet and savory together all the time. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Watch Dishing It Up on channel 722 in high definition.
That will about do it for this episode of From the Studio. Remember, you can follow this show on Twitter at FromTheStudio22, or you can follow me at Corey Riggs TV. If you have an idea for a topic or a guest, please send it our way and we'll try to get them on an upcoming show. As you watch our show this Friday or Saturday or Sunday, hopefully you're getting a chance to celebrate Father's Day. And in this minute or so that I have left, I wanted to take a moment to celebrate mine. Bob Riggs, my father, is quite simply the hardest working man I have ever known, and it's not even close. Even now, as he approaches his 70th birthday, he is always in motion, always with a project or two or three that he has got to get done. He works harder in retirement than most people do at their day-to-day jobs. But more importantly than that is the way that he works, even harder for everyone else. Always willing to stop his self-imposed to-do list to help someone who needs it, whether that be his son or his daughter or one of his many friends or neighbors. The life lessons I have learned from this man are incalculable, but the one lesson that I hope I get right and pass down to my son is that work ethic. To work every project, work every day for anyone with the same skill, same passion and intensity that you always do. Thank you for teaching me that, Dad, and I hope you have a happy Father's Day. I hope all of you dads out there have a happy Father's Day as well. Our final thank yous for this show go out to our guests, the voice of Sporting KC, Nate Bukaty, and head coach Dana Ford for Missouri State men's basketball. And as always, thanks to all of you for watching. Until next time, for our MC22 crew, I'm Corey Riggs, saying so long from the studio.